Hey, welcome into Chatterbox Bearcats. This is another special edition of the midweek show. We already had one released on Monday. This one coming at you on Thursday morning. I'm the host, Nick Niehaus, joined always by Eric Lilly. We got a little flu game going on for Lilly. I think he's been out of commission the last 48 hours with the flu, actually. So got him out of bed to talk about a massive game, massive win over Baylor, a massive game against Houston. And we've got like the guide for the bubble. We got bubble talk. So I'm calling it like bubble for dummies. And not for you guys, it's for me. I need Lilly to explain the bubble to me. And we asked a bracketologist, one of Lilly's buddies, who is a top 15 ranked bracketologist according to Bracket Matrix. So this guy, I think he almost had a near perfect bracket last year or something, Lilly. You're going to have to explain that as well. But we have experts on the topic, a Q&A talking bubble for the Bearcats. So let's just get it started. First off, how you feeling?
I'm getting a little better. My voice might be a little off here, but the last couple hours, it's making me think I'll be back tomorrow, ready to go. But the last 2 nights were rough. Couldn't sleep till 6 a.m. The fever was crazy, the aches, all that stuff. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it to Fifth Third, but I did watch the whole game.
I remember you were texting us like, I don't know if I'm going to even be able to look at the TV, right? Was that maybe a past story?
I drove my wife to work, and when I looked up in the sun, I almost passed out.
Oh no.
It was rough.
Gosh.
Yeah, we're back though.
Well, I'm glad you could watch it on TV. I thankfully was able to go there. And one thing that I want to start off with the show, because Chuck and Houdini, they've been saying it all year, and we haven't been able to experience it, but he's talking about people leaving Fifth Third Arena happy, with a big win. And you get it with the Crosstown shootout. That was obviously amazing. But BYU and Baylor, thankfully, those wins came at Fifth Third, right? Like, Wes had never had a Q1 win at home before BYU. And now we have, I guess Baylor, we knocked them out of Q1, which, again, we mentioned on the midweek show that we lost. It was Q1, we win, it's Q2. So that's kind of, it is what it is. But either way, like in my book, when we beat them, it was quad 1. So I'm going to count it, and it felt like a quad 1 walking out of the arena. It was electric. It was a great atmosphere, and edge of our seats until the very final horn, right? Because that was intense. I'll start off with that. And Lilly, I want you to take this, what I'm about to say, very literally. Very literally. Aziz Bandaogo won us that game. I'm not talking for 40 minutes. Aziz Bandaogo is the best player on the court. But if he was hurt because he rolled his ankle, if he wasn't able to play that final play, I think we lose that game. The wall up on VJ Edgecombe when he drove to the bucket to tie up the game, that was a thing of beauty. Aziz on defense. And then not only that, he had the basketball IQ on the free throw that we're shooting to just knock it out. Like, he didn't try to go for the rebound. He didn't foul anyway. He just slapped the ball away. Shout out Aziz Bandaogo. He literally won us that game against Baylor.
He was huge. And he did have a tough stretch too, though. He had 2 defensive mistakes in a row, and then he came out, and then it got bad. That was the big Baylor run. I can't remember exactly what the scoring run was, but that was his worst point in the game. But the rest of the game, he was awesome. I can't decide if he's my MVP or not, because I thought Dylan was awesome too. I'm going to say Aziz, though. Yeah. And to your point about it, like the IQ play, I think Aziz is like one of our smarter players. He seems to understand the little parts of the game that some of our players don't in terms of like shit housing, messing around with other players, and kind of just getting in people's heads too, which is nice on a team like this where we might have too many nice guys. So yeah, I love this play. Dylan was awesome. Josh Reed was awesome again. What the heck? And shout out Day, man. Big shots. I thought he had some really good defensive plays, get like stripping balls away from big men. He had 3 steals. What a game. Just winning 2 of those games in a row, like at home, the 2 big ones in a row, not counting the Utah one.
Yeah, you're getting everybody to step up, at least almost everybody, right? The majority of players, which is what you need. And again, I wanted to say that very literally, that he won us the game, because that last play won us the game. But I do think you deciding between him and Dylan Mitchell, because Dylan Mitchell, I tweeted it out. I'm like, this is the Dylan Mitchell we thought we were getting all year. So, like, I don't necessarily mean Aziz for 40 minutes won us that game. I think it was probably more so the play from Dylan Mitchell and then the first half spark from Josh Reed. Josh Reed, man, what in the world is going on with Josh Reed? I love it. I absolutely love it. Chuck and Houdini, and we've been calling him Baby Zion, Baby Dirk. Baby Dirk. I mean, the turnaround in the lane, a thing of beauty. A thing of beauty. And also, did Dirk have like a high arcing shot? Am I like misremembering that? Like, maybe he is a little bit more like Dirk.
He's better than Dirk. He's better than LeBron. I'm just enjoying it while it lasts, Although, I mean, I guess, at this point, it's like we want him back. He could be a lead. Seems like a leader. He seems like a glue guy at the same time. You can recruit over him. Got to be great in the locker room. And he doesn't try to do too much. This is what I started thinking more about, like how we've gotten better with Dan playing less and Reed playing more. And it's like, you see Dan trying to get back in the rotation with some of the dumbest shots you'll ever see. And Reed just doesn't take those. He doesn't force his way into the game. He plays within the game, and he lets guys like Jizzle shoot more. It seems like all the other players have gotten better too during this run. So it's unfortunate the change didn't happen sooner, but I think that it's pretty clear what's happening.
It makes you wonder, just in the world of sports, let alone college basketball, let alone basketball, what athletes that never got an opportunity, like what those guys could have done, but they didn't get an opportunity. You know what I mean? I'm sure there's athletes out there that would have been stars. Like right now, Josh Reed's a star for us. And a month ago, he played 2 minutes against Baylor in the first game. So, like, some guys just rise to the occasion when given the opportunity. Thankfully, Josh Reed's that guy. It makes you wonder what other athletes who never gotten that chance could have done. And also, you mentioned Dan. Like, Dan forces a lot. I liked what I saw from Dan when he does what he does well, limited, right? Like, it seems easy when he's shooting a layup from the baseline. Like when his arm is, he's so long. It seems like a free basket when he gets to his spots. And, obviously I think Fran Fraschilla used to say he's the best baseline player in the country. Like he gets to the baseline, like he's hard to stop. And I think he had one of those early on. I don't know what he finished out. I should probably know how many points he finished with, but I know that was a good bucket he had early on. So it's a matter of not forcing with Dan, but CMOS hit big shots. Like you mentioned, Day and Jizzle hit big shots. 6 for 20 is not a great shooting night. Still hit a couple big shots. He did. So, everybody's kind of stepping up. I have this tweet I wanted to share from Jizzle James Enthusiast, one of the burners on Twitter. He had a great breakdown. I'm pretty sure I retweeted it. Yep, here we go. So games 1 through 10 of Big 12 play. And I know we've mentioned, people don't do points per game. They do points per possession. So this is what he broke it down, points per possession. But games 1 through 10 of Big 12 play, 91 points per 100 possessions, 46 from two-point land, 46%, 26% from three-point land, 65% from the free throw line. And then now, games 11 through 17, 116 points per 100 possessions, 56% from 2-point, 38% from 3-point, and 71 at the line. Guys have just stepped up. They simply have. Is that a matter of the competition's easier? I mean, it hasn't. Baylor's a good player, good team, excuse me. I don't care that they just lost to Colorado. I don't care that they're pretty much on the bubble. Norchad Omier and VJ Edgecombe are superstars. Like, yeah, I know it's probably a two-headed monster with them, although Jeremy Roach was a good player. I don't know what's going on with him. But like BYU's good. Baylor's good. And also that takes into effect Iowa State, right? Even in a loss. So I don't know what happened to this team.
It's great. This is college basketball. I think I said that exact same thing after the West Virginia home game. It's like you never know what can happen in college basketball. And I think someone tweeted that our offense since that West Virginia home game is fringe top 30 in the country. It's like it was the worst in the country, and now it's fringe top 30. It's like that doesn't just happen. Like, it's just a shame we couldn't be more consistent throughout the year, because if you are there's no drama. We're in it, you know?
Yeah. Do you think it's as simple as running the offense through Jizzle and Day, playing them together? Because we're playing them together a ton. I mean, they're starting, and adding Josh Reed into the line, like getting is it that simple where it's like you make one, little change, you play Josh Reed a ton, and you play Day and Jizzle together, and you let them take whatever shots they want to take? Seems like those, like, what other changes were made? I feel like those were the two main things.
I think that's it. I think Dan's playing a little less. Other guys have the ball in their hands, and they also got the confidence back at the same time. And it just all is coming together. And that's a reason to believe here. I said all year, like, we're not going to beat Houston, but like the fact that we're playing like this means we actually have a chance, like very long shot, like 5%. But a couple of weeks ago, I said 0%. So
it still might be. It still might be, because we'll talk about Houston here in a second. But lastly, I just want to, again, shout out some of these guys that stepped up against Baylor. Aziz Bandago, especially, because he's a very polarizing player to our fan base. So I loved him getting the final two plays to win the game. Like, that wall up against VJ Edgecombe was a thing of beauty. And then to knock the ball out. Good shout out to Aziz Bandago. Shout out Dylan Mitchell. Great game from him. And then, of course, Josh Reed kind of disappeared in the second half, but still amazing first half. Got us to that lead that we almost lost, but we did in a huge game.
And shout out, I got to do one more shout out here. CJ Frederick got a back injury on a defending a layup that Langston Love was taking. I thought he might have blocked it, but it looked like such an easy layup. Like, I cannot believe Love missed it. And CJ Frederick got hurt guarding it, and we won by 2. So shout out CJ Frederick. Chuck, put the funeral trumpet on over this. If we get in the tournament, we got to do like a CJ montage for that. That was huge.
That was absolutely massive. I actually have it in my notes. CJ sacrificed his back for a great defensive effort against the layup. Last thing before we move on to Houston, VJ Edgecombe. Man, oh man, that kid's a stud. He is a stud. And so is Norchad Omier. But you see why this kid's going to go top 5 in the draft. And he caught fire.
He had that look in his eyes too. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like, what? They kept zooming in. I was like, we're screwed.
He's really good. He is really good. All right, but speaking of really good, Houston, 24-4, 16-1 in Big 12 play. They've already won a share of the Big 12 regular season title. ESPN predictor, matchup predictor, I know you hate it, which, rightfully so. It doesn't mean anything. But pretty sure they have like Houston like a 92% chance to win. So this is despite recent success, this is in terms of teams, David versus Goliath.
Shout out to ESPN Predictor for being within 5%. Good job. It's probably right around there. I'm proud of them. Maybe they're getting better. But yeah, this is I mean, when was the last time Houston lost to a team like us? I know they had that crazy Temple loss a couple years ago that just literally made no sense, but they don't lose games like this. Like, there's a reason why it's 92%. And we got to shock the world. There's everything has to go right.
Well, they have owned us recently. And I tweeted this about a month ago when I was bored one random Sunday and I put on the 2018 American Championship. And I think it was 33-3. UC was 33-3 against Houston all time. But Lily, what has it been recently?
11 in a row, 14 of 16.
So Kelvin Sampson is Wes. Kelvin Sampson, we still are up big, but Kelvin Sampson owns Wes. Look, we went through a rebuild. It's kind of hard to, because we were beating Kelvin, we were. So it's kind of hard to, I guess, compare just because it was rebuild mode after having 3 rostered players. But it's year 4. We shouldn't be necessarily top 5. Look, we were 14th in the country at one point this year. So maybe that was the aspirations. But obviously that's not what this team is. We've come to learn that. But I don't even know what I don't even know what point I'm trying to make there. I think I was just trying to make excuses for Wes that we should just expect a loss here. But it's just sad it's like identity theft. Houston, and everybody says it, this is low-hanging fruit. But Houston has adopted the Cincinnati, model in terms of toughness.
Sampson mentioned that when he got to the league, he looked at Mick and said, I got to do that.
Yeah, David, it's toughness. It's guys sticking around. It's player development. It literally feels like Cincinnati West, Southwest. But the difference is they've had more success, recently than we've had in the tournament. So it's kind of hard to say that. I'm sure Houston fans are probably like, what are these guys talking about? We're better than they were, in the 2010s. But Juwan Roberts still there. I think he's 30. They touched on that very much so. Houdini and Chuck did. LJ Cryer leads the way with 15 points a game, but they have 4 guys who average double digits in scoring. So also they have 8 guys who average over 15 minutes a game. So they're deep, they're tough, they're strong, they're physical. It's like the Monstars. We need Bugs Bunny. Who's Josh Reed is Bill Murray, right? Who's our Bill Murray?
We got to find him.
So what do you think about Houston?
This is one of those ones where we don't really need to talk too much about it. They're top 10 in offense and defense. They're always the same down low. It's they just pump out big men that, and Roberts has been there a while, but next to him, they've just been recycling freaks. It's crazy where they get these guys. And none of them are 5-star recruits. It's just, I don't know where Sampson gets these guys. And they're all big. They rebound. They block shots. And they don't even make you want to try to shoot shots at the rim. Joe Tugler, he's 6'8" with a 7'6" wingspan. That is an insane wingspan margin. What is that, plus 10 inches? That's crazy. I think we're going to have to really open up. We're going to have to do a lot, right? But the mid-range and the three-point shooting is going to have to work because I just don't see any scenario where we win this game at the rim. We're just not going to. We don't have the players to do it, and it's just, if we might win a game at the rim here and there, but it's not going to happen against Houston. You got to shoot over them. And I kind of went through their – it's easy to do this because they only have 4 losses. I went through the box scores for those games and tried to find a trend of how do they lose games. And they lost to Auburn at the 3-point line. They lost to Alabama at the 3-point line. They lost to Texas Tech at the 3-point line. And San Diego State, Houston actually out 3-pointed them and out rebounded them. And they lost to San Diego State. Why? San Diego State had 7 turnovers. Houston had 12. That's all it was. Like, it was a very even game. Everything was pretty even, but the turnover battle. But I also noticed in those other games, like the ones where the clear difference was 3-pointers, was that Auburn, Bama, and San Diego State, Texas Tech, they didn't get smoked on the boards. They didn't get smoked in the turnover battle. So what we need Saturday is competency in the 4 factors, like rebounding, turnovers. We have to, the things that affect possessions, we need to be close, and then you have to out 3-point them. I think that's the only way to beat this team from UC's perspective. So, I mean, Houston kills off games. They're like the slowest team in the country on both sides of the ball. If you look at their KenPom, the only things they're bad at is fouling people, which we know that. They're habitual foulers. They foul so much that refs stop calling them. Like if you spam it enough, they're not going to call all of them, right? Like that's literally what Houston does, and they don't get to the line either. So I don't think there's much more to say. Like, you have to out 3-point them and kind of keep everything else close.
So let me just summarize what you just said. Keep everything close. Just stick with them on the rebounds. Stick with them turnovers. And just shoot lights out. That's the formula. From 3.
Yep.
Okay.
I don't know if we could keep up with them on the boards, though. We didn't exactly rebound well against Baylor.
I'm glad you said that. I was just thinking in my head, I'm like, Baylor's biggest guy was 6'7", and we got out rebounded. Frankly, I mean, not frankly.
And mind you, I mean, Houston's guys are 6'8", but they're just different.
That's true. That's true.
They're huge. Like, they're bulky. They're like.
They got Justin Jackson out there. They got 4 Justin Jacksons.
With 10 pounds.
I was watching Houston last year, and I'm like, Emmanuel Sharp. I would die for a guy like Emmanuel Sharp to be on Cincinnati. Like, that's one of those guys. Like, I know LJ Cryer's their go-to guy. Jawan Roberts is probably a fan favorite there. Like, Emmanuel Sharp, to me, is somebody I would have loved to see come to Cincinnati. Like, that guy's a stud. So, I don't know. Like, I don't want to just keep saying good things about Houston because screw them. But there's not much.
Maybe the one angle we need to address here is, are they going to kind of take the foot off the gas? I don't think Kelvin will let that happen, but Texas Tech rested 2 players against Houston, 2 of their best players. Iowa State rested 2 of their best players against Houston. The last 2 games, teams have been laying down for the Cougs. I don't know. It sure seems like they're like, okay, you're going to win the league, and we need to take a break at some point in this schedule. Maybe we're going to do that. I don't know. But maybe now that they have the championship locked down, I don't know, this isn't a good angle,
No, it's Kelvin Sampson. Yeah. It's Kelvin. He even said put an asterisk on that win against Texas Tech because they were down their 2 guys. So, he
just has them laser focused.
Dude, this program, it just reminds me of the Bearcats we love, because I was watching the Texas Tech game on Monday, and I don't know if it was the strength coach or Kelvin Sampson, but they were like, to incoming freshmen, think of the hardest you have ever worked in your high school workouts, like the worst conditioning you've ever done, the hardest that's going to be what you dream of at Houston. Like, that's going to be an easy day at Houston. And I'm like, it just seems like the military there. Like, literally, like they're a factory at Houston. But again, enough good things about them. They're going to get a ton of praise. They already won the Big 12. They're going to be a 1 seed probably. So we got to shock the world. Got to shock the world. But let's get into some bubble talk. Again, I think I'm calling this like bubble for dummies. and that's for me, not for our listeners. So we asked, we had a Q. Should we start with the Q&A, Lily, or should we? I'll just break down some bubble teams that you sent me, just to kind of get a gauge on what we're looking at. Do you want to do that? You want to start off with a bracket first, and then get into the Q&A?
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. So I got, there is a local guy, Northern Kentucky bracket guy. That's actually his name on Twitter. I think he tied the guy we did Q&A with. Again, that's here. Shout out your bracketologist, your in-house bracketologist.
Yeah. Shout out Sluter Bracketology. I tailgate with them at football games. He runs the tailgate. He's been doing bracketology for a while. He's on the 5-year. So NKY tied Sluter last year, but to get into the main rankings, you have to do it over 3 or 5 years and be at that level to get like on the real leaderboards. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll see the newbies. They have a newbie ranking. Yeah. So because, you can get really lucky one year. So yeah, Sluter's awesome at it. And just a quick little thing for people that don't understand bracketology, because I've had people in my mentions last year, like when I was ripping on Lunardi, saying like, oh, he got all the teams, like he knows what he's doing. I was like, no, you and I, if we like put an ounce of effort into this, you're going to get every team. You might miss one or two. Like that's the easy part of bracketology. These points, the scales are based on seeding, and that's the hard part. So yeah, these guys are good. They're better than Lunardi. Go to Bracket Matrix and click around and use theirs instead of the guy on ESPN that's posting graphics to drive up engagement so he gets his next contract.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, no. So NKY, the reason I'm, choosing his is because A, he's local. B, he just went to the Baylor game and was kind of shouting out the Bearcats.
Lucky charm.
Yeah, lucky charm. And C, because his graphics are easy to read. I'm a simple man. So his first 4 out. We'll just start with the first 4 out, next 4 out. But I know you were like, hey, man, 8 seeds, 11 seeds, that's bubble. That's bubble. So NKY bracket guy, his first 4 out, he has Georgia, Ohio State, North Carolina, and Boise State. And then his next 4 out, Xavier, Cincinnati, SMU, George Mason. I already have a bone to pick with this guy. Xavier over UC is a crime. Actually, I don't get it. I get it's their Marquette win. That Marquette win that back is hurting. That back is hurting for Marquette. And they're not even that good. You know what? Rant over, I guess. But he has us as the 6th team out. Are those the main 8 bubble teams that you look at, or are we missing anybody?
There's more. Like,
yeah,
if he's like, I think the 11 and 10 seeds are bubbles. Like, I know I have a very big.
Yeah, I don't know
bubble.
why I said 8 seed. 10 and 11 is what I meant.
In my head, an 8 seed is bubble. Like, to me, a bubble is if you have a bad week, you're shitting your pants. And if you are a fan of UConn and you lose your next 2 games, you're actually shitting your pants right now.
Okay.
So that's how I look at it. But like a smaller, more realistic bubble, I think it starts 10 seed, like, and he's got Vanderbilt there. He's got Baylor, West Virginia, VCU, Nebraska, Wake Forest.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's others too, mid-majors like Drake and UC San Diego. Indiana, I don't think was on his. There's quite a few like big programs that are not in his first 4 out or next 4 out that are right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's got Arkansas and Oklahoma as a play-in for the 12, and then Texas, Indiana also.
Yep, those 4 too. Just missed that.
Yes, no, it's all good.
Yeah, so root against all those teams, unless someone that you see beat is who they're playing.
I want to mention your tweet, and also I love the emojis you use and all that, because it's very easy to follow, and I'm sure it's like super annoying to make. So that is appreciated, because like I said, I'm a simple man. That goes a long way on easy stuff to read. Like, this is appealing to the eye. But we're rooting for A&M tonight against Vandy. Now, full disclosure, it's 10:56 p.m.
Vandy just won.
Yeah, so that did not go Cincinnati's way. But IU, like you mentioned, Texas, Arkansas, that's pure bubble. Wake Forest, Oklahoma. I know we already mentioned all these teams, but I just want to nail this down. You know what I mean, so that we can get an idea. Boise State, Ohio State, SMU, and Villanova. I think the committee should take into part the fact that we just absolutely demolished Ohio State in a scrimmage. I know they would never do that, but that's my plea to them.
Could be a tiebreaker for the last spot.
Find the tapes. I don't know. I don't think it was broadcast anywhere, but somebody find the tape because we absolutely demolished Ohio State in that scrimmage. But do you want to get into the Q&A? We kind of just mentioned the bubble teams, and the Q&A is really where we can start discussing stuff. So,
yeah, let's do it. This is the Q&A with Sluter.
Yes.
He's a great bracketologist, and we just had some questions, and he he's a little too busy to hop on here right now with his job, and he's completing his MBA at the same time. He's traveling for work, all this and that. So he did answer our questions thoroughly, though, so we'll bring it to you guys.
Perfect. Where does it rank on list of accomplishments? Is it top 15 bracketologist or MBA? I think that's a 1A, 1B kind of deal.
I think if he gets to top 10 after this year, that might be it.
That it sounds like I was downplaying it. I'm really not. That is impressive because I mean, think about all the people who probably do it. Like that's really good. So this guy knows what he's doing. That was not a shot. I know that sounded a shot, but like this guy is impressive. He's top 15 in bracketology. He's getting an MBA. Like
there's 179 bracketologists on this, and he's 12th. So
yeah,
that's good. Yeah,
that's good. So this guy knows what he's talking about. Okay, the first question: does 2-1 get you in? What needs to happen in the Big 12 tournament? If so, 2-1, obviously. I think, are we assuming, or I don't know if he answered it this way, but assuming that the one loss is Houston.
Yeah, that's how he's answering this one.
Okay.
It's funny how like we all just assume that. It's actually not funny at all. It's kind of sad.
Yeah.
But he said 2-1 doesn't alone get it done without other bubble teams completely falling apart. And what typically happens around this time of the year is that there's 8 to 10 teams on the committee's bubble for the last 4 spots. And then they just start cutting it down from there, down to like 5 or 6 teams for those 4 spots. And then, usually a day or two into the tournament, that's just really, that's the spots that are being decided. And then the second part of the question is he thinks this is going to kind of upset some UC fans, but he's a process guy. He wants to be good at bracketology. He says if we're 2-1 and we get to the tournament and win 3, that we feel really good. Win 2, you're sweating and likely out. And didn't say anything about winning 1, but I can tell you right now, it's like an absolute long shot. Like 0 bids would have to be stolen. And, every once in a while, there's just a team that gets in that doesn't make sense. We would have to be that team probably. Like, remember when Tulsa got in that one year and like was on nobody's boards? You probably don't remember. It was like 10 years ago.
No.
And like, I don't even think they had a watch party. And they got in the tournament.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, do that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And you might know this. I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but do you know what our likely seed is and what day that would be? Because if you win 1, but you're a high seed, you're beating nobody. You're probably beating Utah again. That definitely does nothing. Do you know what we're looking at in terms of the Big 12 tournament?
Yeah, we're going to be playing on Tuesday unless we win out and other things happen. I think even then we might not be able to get the 8th seed. So the 8th seed is the last seed that gets a bye. And we're just not going to get it probably.
Okay.
9 seed, anywhere from 9 to 12. And like, again, if we're a 12 seed, that probably means we lost 2 games and we're screwed.
Yeah.
I think we're much more likely to be like 9, 10, or 11.
Okay.
And that would all be Tuesdays.
Okay. All right. Does 1 and 2 with the win against Houston get you in? Now that would be, it's funny. I'm like reading this and I'm like, well, that would be an absolutely insane 3-game stretch, beating Houston and losing to Oklahoma State and Kansas State. But what does he say?
He said, LOL, no.
And it's funny because we see people.
Question, you know?
Well, it is a fair question. We see people on Twitter like, well, you beat Houston, you're in. Doesn't matter what you do the rest of the way. That's just not what bracketologists or the committee thinks, correct? You texted this.
They're looking at a team sheet, and it's a Q1 win. It's a Q1 plus win. I mean, a lot of casuals don't want to hear about the pluses and stuff.
Is it Q1A?
Every quadrant, has a Q1A, Q2A, Q3A. There are sub quadrants. There's no reason to like tweet about it or talk about it on a podcast, but Houston would be one of those, like an extra bonus, like to stand out between like UCF. You know, if UCF's a Q1, it shouldn't be the same thing, right?
Yeah.
I think they use those mostly for tiebreakers and stuff like that. But
okay.
It would be a massive win, but you can't go and then lose games. We have to win games. The volume of wins matters for us. So just a warning to UC fans, if we win Saturday, celebrate, and then show up on Wednesday ready to scream your asses off, because we know this team can lose to anybody, and we have to win. Well, we have to win regardless.
Yeah, they can lose to everybody, but to be fair to Wes, that has not been the issue, is letdown games, thankfully. All right, moving on. Next question. Who should UC be worried about among other bubble teams?
He says just anyone in those major conferences, especially the SEC, which is very timely right now because Georgia won a big game last night and Vanderbilt won a big game tonight. Hell, Oklahoma might be winning right now too, for all we know.
Let me see.
You check it while I'm reading. The SEC's floor is so freaking high that like the Texas, OU, Vanderbilt, Arkansas, Georgia, like the wins they're getting, every game's Q1. It's just they have so many more opportunities than we do. But at the same time, we have way more opportunities than the ACC and Big East. And he also mentioned North Carolina and Wake Forest. And,
all of them.
Like a random Ohio State. Just basically any bubble team you want to lose.
Well, here's some bad podcasting. Virginia's up 81-73 against Wake Forest, so that's good. Wake's
done.
So they're done. They're already toast anyway, in your mind?
They're pretty much toast. If they lose tonight, they're toast.
Okay, well, they're down 8 with 40 to go, so they're toast. Oklahoma's leading Kentucky. Again, this is like 6 minutes left. I don't even know why I'm saying this. But Arkansas is leading Texas 66-60 at where we're at in this podcast. Moving on. Again, at least I referenced it was bad podcasting.
Self-awareness is a skill.
That it is. Let's see. Now I skipped a question because we were talking about Houston and like what 1 and 2 would do. So let's get back into that. Does a lack of a statement win for UC concern you?
100% yes. And Sluter's been telling me about this for weeks, that like, the best example of it is Xavier. Like, for all the bracketologists you see putting Xavier in front of Cincinnati, it's simply because of the Marquette game. That's all it is. They won a road game against like a Q1, and we're talking about it would be a Q1 win at home. Q1. Like, this isn't a UCF game. This is a Houston level game. Obviously Houston's better than Marquette.
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
So it's the biggest issue with our resume right now. We don't have any bad losses, but we don't have a statement win. It's like you kind of need the statement win to make up for the schedule, sort of. It's something the committee will notice. Maybe not if we get like 3 or 4 Q1s, like say UCF, Baylor, and BYU all end up being Q1, and then we get one more in the tournament. Maybe that kind of hides the statement thing, like beat a tournament team in the Big 12 tournament, because we don't really have that either for sure. Like, we have that BYU and Baylor are probably getting in the tournament, barring a disaster. So beating Houston would be a statement win, monumental. These are humans in the committee, and if you win on CBS in early March at Houston. People are watching. People will remember that. And it's as big of a statement win as it can be, really.
Okay. Any teams on the bubble that you like versus other bracketologists? And then the same question, but the opposite. Any teams you hate that others like?
Yeah, he didn't really have a big response here. He just thinks the bubble shrunk a little early this year, which makes it easy. It's funny saying this, like me and you are looking at all these bubble teams and it's like overwhelming. And he said it's easy this year. It's like, shit.
We don't do this for a living. Well,
yeah,
I guess we do. I guess
but
we don't want to. We don't want to.
I find it like bracketology fascinating and I like want to do it, but I think I have too much ADD to like organize everything. But the reason why kind of makes sense here, because the A10's down. It's a one bid league probably. The Big East is down, and the ACC is like insanely down. They have 8 teams outside the top 75 in KenPom, 6 teams outside the top 100, which is just unbelievable. If you told anybody that 10 years ago that the ACC would be that bad,
That's
it just
crazy.
it does not make any sense. They're almost as bad as the Mountain West.
Oh my gosh!
On KenPom, almost as bad sounds wrong there, but because the Mountain West is good, like by their standards.
No, yeah, we get what you're saying.
So he doesn't really pick a team for that,
Okay.
Like one that stands out as who he likes a lot. He groups them all in a pool, and then like he'll decide later type thing.
Okay. I think this was a guest question from Hudson. Specifically, I want to know if he has any insight on how much the committee takes into account conference tournaments. Last year, it seemed like they didn't take anything into consideration.
This is a big one. Every year we see it on Twitter. It's confusing to fans. It should be confusing to fans because it's stupid. Every game should matter, in my opinion. Why else play it? This isn't. It's just illogical. These guys are playing on for a championship, and it doesn't matter for qualifying for the tournament if they lose. Anyways, that's my little rant.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Tell what the answer is here, but
yeah,
it fluctuates year to year according to Sluter.
What?
And
see, like, what's the point of that?
They don't really want people to know because they want, it protects them when they do things. Is how I look at it.
Yeah.
But he said whatever, like a general rule of thumb for bracketologists is whatever your resume is on Friday, which this year is March 14th, is what matters the most. So there's still 2 days of games, Saturday and Sunday there. So you need to be on the cut line by Friday, or else they're not even going to talk about you. Like at that point, the bracket is set. Like, so basically this is what bracketologists say. The bracket's set on Friday. And they're just looking at a couple teams, bubble teams, which, it would be us in this scenario for 2-1. And they're watching just those teams and they just swap teams based on who wins. So if you're like outside, like say TCU loses, like they're pretty far off the bubble now, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they went all the way to the Big 12 championship now, it probably wouldn't matter,
Gotcha.
which is cool for us. But
yeah,
I just think it's bullshit personally.
Yeah.
And honestly, like there's been quotes. It's just that they're lazy. They complain about being up late on Saturday. It's like, okay, well then don't have 75-year-olds who have 7 jobs on the committee. Like these bracketologists would literally do anything to be on the committee. Like some of these guys. It's And they don't have bedtimes either. So
it's a good point. I agree. That's ridiculous. Would Nichols and NKU getting to quad 3 do anything?
Yeah, and this is something I brought up on the Bearcat Bunch Twitter account today. In my check out the tweet I did on the quadrant. I'm going to start doing a bubble watch here until we lose a game we shouldn't lose, which hopefully doesn't happen. but I also did a quadrant watch of games we've already played and games we have coming up of teams that could move quadrants, just teams that are within 15 spots of falling or going up a quadrant. And NKU and Nichols State are like right on the edge of being Q3. So I thought I'd ask Sluter about that, because we're 7-0 Q4, and I think 1-0 Q3 now because Kansas or TCU fell. So he said marginally at best, it could help some metrics and numbers like strength of schedule, which we do need help with. But ultimately having 0 quad 3, quad 4 losses is the most important part of this category. And that does matter. And this, especially this bubble, Sluter told me it's unique in the way that like there are very few bad losses. There's only 4 teams with 2 Q3 losses, and no one on the bubble has more than 2. And like, mind you, last year A&M had 4 and they got a 9 seed, like 4 Q3 losses. So this is kind of an outlier year with no bad losses. So so basically what he's saying is the wins don't matter, but the losses do. So
yeah,
if that makes sense, I still want it to happen.
Which
though.
is funny because it's kind of flipped in terms of Q1, Q2, right? Like the wins matter and the losses don't.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
I think the NKU one specifically matters. This is just me though, because it was a away game. Like you see people mention our strength of schedule a little. It's not as bad as it was last year, but the Q3 away will actually like register to people in my opinion. But a Q4 away, no one's even going to notice it was an away game.
Good point. Feels self-explanatory, but how massive would it be to have Baylor, UCF, BYU all be Q1 while also the fringe Q3s stay at Q2? Is that the scenario where we can get in at 9 and 11 with one Big 12 tourney win?
Oh man, I lost that one on my sheet here.
We don't have an answer?
Let me see. See, now that's bad podcasting right there.
That's okay. Let's see.
I can answer it myself though.
No, that might be the last. Yeah,
because
that
we've kind of answered.
off.
You know what? I think Sluter grouped that in with that first question.
Okay.
Where we talked about the tournament, how many wins you have to win in the tournament to get in, and it does matter. Like our resume can drastically change, and this also goes along with my tweet about the quadrants changing. Is like if all of those things go our way, our resume is drastically different. Like there's a scenario where we have 0 Q1. If BYU, Baylor, UCF all flame out, we're screwed. But if they all go our way, that's your scenario where you can win 1 in the tournament and maybe get in. So it's it's one of those things where we're going to watch it every day, pulling our hair out, and we won't really know to the last day. It's that close with a lot of these.
I feel like the best path and most realistic path, and I hate to just chalk up an L on Saturday, you know what I mean? Like for all we know, we might shock the world, but like honestly, clip it if I'm wrong. The most realistic and honest path is going 2-1 here, hoping that the other teams go our way, right? We don't control our own destiny. You got to pray on the downfall of the other bubble teams, and you got to hope for no bid stealers. That seems like the most, and then you got to perform in the Big 12 tournament. That's the most likely path. That's what we got to do. And that's just unfortunate. Imagine you don't lose West Virginia on the road, West Virginia at home, Utah on the road. I don't know if that's even Q1 anymore on the road, but some of these games we lost, it just sucks. So that's it. That was probably the most informative episode we've ever had, Lily. Like I know you always come with the juice, but like the bubble as of February 27th, or I guess 26th, because these games aren't over yet at 11:15 p.m., which is crazy. This is probably one of the most informative episodes, and I'm sure people are going to be happy that we broke down the bubble for them because this is our life now. This is our lives, at least for the next few weeks.
Yeah. We're getting serious about stuff here right now. Like this is some serious shit we're dealing with. So less fun this episode, more this is what needs to happen, guys.
Yeah, it's good stuff. All right, well, this is an extra episode that we did. I didn't ask off the top, but make sure you like, subscribe. Please give us a 5-star review on wherever you get your podcast. It goes a long way in helping us out. Tell your friends about us. I know I went on some long monologue last time about referring us to friends, but we're kind of new to the scene, but growing and growing. And you guys, like I mentioned, are day one, so it's awesome to see people commenting, listening, giving us mailbag questions. It's truly awesome to see. Lily, I think that does it for me. You got anything before we go?
Shock the world, baby.
Shock the world. All right, thanks for listening, guys. Chuck and Houdini will probably be live after the game on Saturday. If not, one of us will. I know I'll be watching. So, again, like, subscribe, wherever you get your podcast. This is Nick Niehaus and Eric Lilly signing off.